No one in Ciénaga expected that Samuel Zamuri would become the specter at their negotiations. The lanky, cigar-smoking head of the United Fruit Company lived in a different hemisphere, but the decisions that left bodies in the mud of Magdalena were born in his boardrooms and brokered in Bogotá. Late in 1928, a weary coastal town hummed with a quiet, dangerous hope. Banana workers, Afro-Colombians, mestizo peasants, dockhands and field cutters had walked off the plantations and packing houses owned by United Fruit. They demanded what seemed elemental: recognition of their union, an end to payment in company scrip, safer conditions, and an 8-hour day. The men who picked fruit at dawn and mended the docks at night were not revolutionaries. They were hungry families driven to insist on dignity. The strike found its epicenter in Ciénaga, a rivered plain where steamships and trains carried fruit to the U.S. market. United Fruit, whose monopoly shaped whole stretches of Central and South America, saw only disruption to profit. Its managers sent urgent cables to Bogotá. The company framed the stoppage as anarchy, as foreign agitation, as an existential threat to order. Bogotá answered with force. President Miguel Abadia Mendez's administration, keen to protect foreign investment and fearful of unrest, declared that the army would restore order. In the first days of December, soldiers arrived in town. They were not sent to negotiate, they were sent to break the strike. On the morning of December 6, 1928, what began as a march and a concerted call for recognition turned into slaughter. Witnesses, survivors who would later flee or be silenced, described cavalry moving down river roads, rifle fire tearing through mosquito-heavy air, men and women trying to flee into the mangroves. The military claimed it had been attacked and acted in self-defense. United Fruit's cables and local officials echoed the same line. Newspapers printed official communiques. The town's pleading was drowned by authority and commerce. The bodies were quickly hidden in plain sight. The government published an official toll, a modest number, a few dozen dead. But survivors and dissident journalists who dared to ask told a darker truth. Hundreds, perhaps more, lay where columns of banana trees had been felled. Gabriel Garcia Marquez would later remember the official silence and fictionalize its enormity. The divergence between the official count and whispered realities became the first conspiracy, the deliberate suppression of the scale of violence. The deeper conspiracy had roots in economics and influence. United Fruit did not merely lobby, it formed an axis with local elites and ministers who feared the loss of foreign capital. Company agents met with ministers, consuls signaled concern for American interests, and Bogotá adopted the corporate frame, labor unrest as a threat to national stability. The result was predictable and brutal. The monopoly's grip on policy, the state's monopoly on violence, and ordinary workers caught between. After the shooting, investigations stalled. Promises of accountability dissolved into bureaucratic statements. Families who had lost fathers and sons were paid little attention. Many were too frightened to testify. International press noted the events, but economic and geopolitical considerations muted deeper scrutiny, until the story seeped into art and memory. The Ciénaga Massacre did not end the struggle for labor rights, but it shifted it underground and into new forms. Over the following decades, the event haunted Colombia's politics, a touchstone for critics of foreign economic dominance and state collusion. The massacre's legacy also traveled in literature. Gabriel Garcia Marquez's prose would carry its shadow to the world, ensuring that the silenced names would not be entirely forgotten. This is a story of industrial power, a pliant state, and the human cost of treating people as cogs in an export machine. It is also a story about how truth can be contested. Official numbers on a government bulletin, testimonies whispered in living rooms, an author's memory hammered into myth. The conspiracy was simple and terrible. When profit is threatened, those who profit can persuade the state to use force. And when force is used, official narratives can bury the dead. Ciénaga still remembers. Palm fronds rustle over routes once patrolled by soldiers. Older families name towns where fathers walked and never returned. And somewhere in corporate ledgers, that day was a line item. In the streets, it was a wound. The massacre of December 1928 remains a dark lesson in the costs of concentrated power. A true-life crime written across a landscape of bananas, blood, and silence.